Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spark Summit 2022. This is our second year producing this conference at a much larger scale than we had last year. We appreciate all of you esteemed guests being here today. We have amazing programming happening throughout the conference and this festival. Flash tattoos at Aru, virtual reality. There's a coffee bar over there if you need some caffeine. We have installations happening within this building and some of the buildings down Cheyenne. So please check out the visual artists' work. And then we have programming happening here on this main stage, as well as some breakout sessions within this building and the Holberton building next door. I'm Bianca Campued, Deputy Director of Tulsa Creative Engine. We're gonna do a quick round of introductions and then get this panel started.
Hey guys, I'm Chris Davis. I'm co-founder and executive director for Tulsa Creative Engine. Thank you for being here.
My name is Libby Ediger. I am CEO and executive director of Holberton School Tulsa, and this is our campus, so welcome in today.
My name is Stefan Simon. I am the founder and creator of Dreamland Festival, executive producer for Fire in Little Africa, and executive director for TMC Records, which is McLean High School record label.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. So we're going to be talking about this conference and how it relates to our work, our organizations, the art that we do, and how we work with and for the community of Tulsa. And I'd actually like to start with Steph, talking about the Dreamland Festival. It was formerly World Culture Music Festival, now Dreamland. Could you talk through the evolution of the festival? I know it's been longstanding for quite a while. Why did you change the name, move it to this time of the year, and how do you see it growing moving forward?
I wanted to more recognize the Black-owned festival aspect of who I am and where I come from. And Williams Dreamland Theater that was on Greenwood was the inspiration for the name change. It was something that I am very interested in, and as you all know, with Fire in Little Africa and Born on Black Wall Street and all the music I do that's so Tulsa based, the Dreamland title felt right. It felt new. It felt like a rebirth. It felt like a metamorphosis, a butterfly coming out of a cocoon. And the foundation was the Black-owned, the Black entrepreneurship, the artists that come from where I come from, having a platform just like they presented a platform for artists and filmmakers back then. So shout out to the Williams family for their blessings with the name change, and shout out to Lula and JD Williams, the ancestors.
Amazing. I love that you're also tying in the entrepreneurship aspect of this with Spark Summit. Our goal is to really bring the communities of art, tech, and entrepreneurship together in one space to meet each other, be able to collaborate, and also learn from one another. Libby, as a partner of Spark Summit for the second year, obviously the work that you do is very tech-based. What was it that really drove you to want to be such a big part of a conference like this in terms of working with an organization that's centered around arts? Like, what is the connection between tech and arts and the work that Holberton does that you see that's like a through line for all of this?
You know, for us, it's much more about the narrative change than it is about us as a school and what we teach. We teach full stack software engineering. We do not have any arts or music classes. In fact, we really pride ourselves on trying to cram as much technical content into a vocational program as we can. What drew us to Tulsa Creative Engine, what drew me to Tulsa Creative Engine and to Spark, is that there's such a narrative that software engineering and software development is for people who want to be isolated, who want to sit in a basement and code on a laptop by themselves, this kind of like Mark Zuckerberg, antisocial, is the way that the media in particular and that movies have portrayed software development. And we're here to say that it's collaborative and it's creative and that it's for everyone. Anyone can learn to code. And so part of us being here today is to kind of plant that flag, both for our current students, for future students, and to make sure that the rest of the creative community here in Tulsa and beyond knows that they're welcome in our space, whether they want to be a student or not. And frankly, that they hopefully can get to connect with our students so that when they're looking for their next project or they need something more technical, be it a website, be it an NFT, that they have a community that they can gather around.
I want to get into a little bit more of that collaboration in a bit, but before we do that, I would like to kick it to Chris to just talk a little bit about the work that we do at Tulsa Creative Engine, how it relates to the programming and everything we produced for Spark Summit. I'd also like to just do a quick shout out to Tyrance Billingsley, who's in the front row here. He is our third co-founder and chairman of our board, also the founder of Black Tech Street. But yeah, so Chris, if you could talk through TCE for people that don't know our organization and what we do, kind of explain it a bit.
So Tulsa Creative Engine, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and our mission is to make Tulsa a global hub for culture by investing directly in artists and developing assets to support the creative community. So Spark Summit being one of those assets, right? We have a convergence here of thought leaders from the creative space, from the business world, from the tech world. And our intention here is to provide a space that cross-pollinates all of these different thinkers, all of these different ideas, and for Tulsa to really have a platform to take the lead on some conversations that are forward-thinking, not only about the community that we're building here, but really the world that we want to live in. The work that Tulsa Creative Engine is doing, I'll just kind of run through a couple of our other programs. We have an Artist Accelerator program that we just wrapped a pilot of. We had 9 artists go through a 6-week program, learning business skills, working with mentors. We gave each artist a $5,000 grant at the end of that. We just launched our community recording studio, Spark Studios. The intention there is to provide affordable access for artists to create music and to build more community around the creation of music. And then we've got a couple of monthly events, our Select Showcase at Mercury Lounge, highlighting top talent across genres. Our Frequency Mixer brings together artists, tech people, and creatives for a monthly gathering. A lot of the work that we're doing is kind of centered on the idea that the status quo in Tulsa has been that the artists are over here doing their thing, the tech people are over here doing their thing, and the business people are doing their thing. We really believe that innovation happens at the intersection of those 3 worlds. And so Spark Summit, Frequency, and a lot of our other programming is designed to bring those people together. And I think the last thing I'll say, we're really excited to be bringing really great people in from out of town throughout this weekend. So we've got Ryan Wilson, one of the top entrepreneurs in the country, who will be on this stage in just a couple of hours talking to Stefan Tyrance. We've got an amazing visual artist, Alfredo Salazar-Caro, in from Mexico City. He created the Digital Museum of Digital Art. We've got Aaron Knight, an incredible Atlanta mover and shaker in the music scene, artist manager. We've got Sam Viotti from the Rosedale Collective. We're really bringing together people to Tulsa to not only share their work, but also to connect with Tulsans. And again, just kind of create a platform and visibility for Tulsa on the global stage. So Spark Summit is just really central to all of that work.
Thanks, Chris. So Steph, this is the first year that the music festival is partnering with a tech and arts festival. Do you have any of your personal thoughts or insights on the benefit of those two kind of like what I would say is formerly siloed communities coming together to create this weekend?
It makes it a lot bigger. I mean, South by Southwest was a big inspiration of Muse or something that I can look at and say I want to kind of start from that format. And they had tech conferences, they had film festivals, they had so many things built around just going to see artists perform. So teaming up with Spark was the opportunity to start moving in that direction. So and that was pretty much the reason right there. Short, sweet answer. So now we're here, and hopefully it continues to grow that. So
yeah. Do you have anything to add to that, Chris? Because I know you had a hand in producing both.
Yeah, I think Tulsa really deserves a major festival. We felt that for a long time. A lot of people have come before us to do similar types of things. And I think that the moment is just right in 2022 and beyond to really have a major global attraction that Tulsa can own that highlights our culture while also merging our culture with, creative leaders from all over the world. So Steph and I have been working together for 5 years now, and this feels like a really true iteration of our earliest conversations of what the festival could evolve into, and I feel like it's exciting because it feels like we're still just getting started and got a great weekend ahead and a bright future for the festival.
It's only 7 years, so 6 if you take away COVID, but it's really, so we planned for that year, so it didn't happen, but we worked hard still.
So on the music side of things, what can people expect this weekend? What might be different from previous World Culture Music Festivals they've attended, or for new attendees, like what should they be excited about?
Oh man, we got our first Grammy nominated headliner, which is Rhapsody, which is amazing. We have I like to keep the DIY aspect, underground aspect of artists. I'm very knowledgeable at picking artists, and my favorite artist, which is La Russell from Vallejo, California, which is coming. Murs, who is here with Tulsa Creative Engine doing Ground Waves. I just nudged him, was like, hey, since you're gonna be here, you wanna perform? And he was with it. So and we have Father, so we have 4. We graduated to 1 major headliner, but now we have 4. I'm looking forward to seeing how many that will be next year. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And then it went from 30 to 40 regional and local acts to 100. So it's just music all over the place. So some of the best talent. It's too much talent in this city it's crazy to say. I really could have booked 300 acts and not missed a beat with any performances. So it's you're gonna slip and fall into a new favorite artist this weekend. So
so make sure you all check out the lineup for Dreamland
For sure.
and attend all of the shows. Libby, you were talking a little bit about the potential collaboration of artists and technologists and coders. Would you actually consider working in technology and coding and art though? Because I feel like you can view many things that you create as an art. Like, do you have any thoughts on, even cultivating that kind of thinking with the people that are going to the school? And also, on the note on collaboration, what are some ideas of how artists and Holberton students can collaborate together on projects?
I certainly think that coding is far more of an art than a science. And in fact, not to stand on my soapbox and talk too much about our teaching philosophy, but as you walk through campus today and this weekend, you will not find lecture halls. We don't sit our students down and talk at them about how to code. We give them problems to solve and encourage them to dive in, do that project-based learning, and then frankly, move from project-based learning into peer-based learning. And so learning to collaborate together is really part of the core of what we do as a school. I think that translates really well when our students graduate, get into the workforce as a software engineer, or think about going off on their own. We opened our doors in January of 2020, and it's been very fun to see some of our students, take jobs at the big buildings that you can see out this window, but many of them now starting their own ventures, starting to take on their own clients, and really it has enabled their existing creativity to just have a new medium. I don't think it's anything that we take credit for. It's just a new vehicle to the things that they wanted to build and create. And I think one quick plug, this weekend, as you are going and seeing all of the immersive experiences, Eru, 2 doors down from us, has free virtual reality experiences. If you've never put on a headset, you absolutely should. They have some really cool experiences that you can check out. And that's the type of merging of both art and coding that is really exciting to see, especially here in Tulsa. That you don't have to be on the East Coast or the West Coast to be experiencing this new cutting edge technology. For the artists in the room or the Holberton grads and students in the room that want to collaborate, First, like this weekend, we have gotten everyone in the same room for a purpose. So yes, engage with the panels, go to the installations, but I'd really call everyone to spend time getting to know each other. We've curated these different industries into one room so that there can be collision and collaboration amongst the attendees. I think that the sky is the limit, what we can dream up from here.
That is a great plug too for one of the breakouts called Sky's the Limit tomorrow. So we've been talking a lot about the different communities that we bring together, but the work that we do with Tulsa Creative Engine is really about investment to the artists. And I'd love for Chris to talk a little bit about what that actually means, because obviously arts organizations exist. The models are, for many of them are very top down. And so we're trying to do something a little bit different here at Tulsa Creative Engine, maybe the new way that more arts organizations should be operating. But yeah, Chris, if you could talk through what it actually means to invest in artists.
Yeah, so I think central to our philosophy is really that artists are entrepreneurs. Like when you look at like a tech entrepreneur or a traditional business entrepreneur, there are certain things that every expert would agree that those entrepreneurs need in order to have a chance at being successful, right? So they need physical space to gather and connect with each other. They need mentorships. They need money. They need a network of connections, right? So I think that when Bianca Tyrants and I were really formulating the plan for Tulsa Creative Engine, really we followed the template of like what's already happening in Tulsa in some cases in the tech world or in the entrepreneurship world, and saying, how can we apply that to artists? I mean, in the music industry specifically, we are at a really interesting transitional time where, the role of the label is changing and there's a lot of democratization, meaning that you could start a band today, record an album this weekend, and be on Spotify next week. But that requires a lot more supporting cast around those artists to make sure that you can actually turn your music career into a full-time thing. So we are literally investing in artists in all the ways that I just mentioned, the way that we invest in other entrepreneurs, as well as bringing in mentors, building up really the supporting cast around artists. I think that there's a lot of work to do in Tulsa. We're, like I said, building the recording studio. I mean, in the hip hop scene, for example, most music is being made at people's houses. We really see the need and the value of bringing people out and creating community spaces around the creation of music, and giving people an opportunity to connect with one another that might otherwise not have connected. And then the next step, I think, is when we talk about making Tulsa a global hub for culture, we have to export the culture, right? We have to get Tulsa artists and creatives out into the world. We just got back, Bianca and I took a trip to New York City last week with some visual artists looking at an art show, just kind of researching some opportunities to highlight Tulsa artists and major kind of platforms outside of Tulsa. So I think it's really a twofold approach of building community here, investing really strongly here, making it really clear and a lot more straightforward for artists to embark on a path as a full-time artist, but then also putting Tulsa on and creating opportunities like we took Steph and several other artists to South by Southwest earlier this year. But yeah, I think it's a combination of building up the infrastructure here and then creating opportunities for our artists outside of Tulsa.
Okay, so we're going to leave about 5 minutes for an open Q&A to anyone in the audience that wants to learn more about any of the organizations that we're working on with Steph and his work with Fire Little Africa, Dreamland Festival. Does anyone in the audience have any questions on our work or anything about this weekend, the festival and the conference? Adidas. Y3. Yes, Charlie.
So y'all have assembled a wonderful panel of speakers, artists throughout the weekend. How do you choose people like that? Thought process. Why and what would make a good topic? kind of looking forward to the next 2 days?
I'm happy to start. There's a couple of things that I think pull together a compelling slate of programming. One is looking at an individual panel and saying, what's the diversity that we have represented across the industry, across the perspectives. I'm really excited for the Web3 panel tomorrow because, thank you for the cue up for the panel you're sitting on. But just the diversity of perspectives there like creates tension, and not in a bad way and in friction, but like it will be an interesting conversation because everyone has a different lens that they're going to bring to that particular topic. We also care about the mix of having Tulsans who are here doing the work and will continue to do the work after this summit with these incredible perspectives that we've been able to bring in from external guests. So those were some of the things that we considered.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I think we looked at the programming generally in buckets: arts, tech, business, and try to have representation on both. Something that Steph talks about a lot, that we talk about a lot, is just using what you have. Like, just kind of, who do we already know? Who are we already connected to? So kind of having intentions of like, these are the topics that we can cover. You know, one of the starting questions was like, what are the topics within these buckets that could benefit the most people? Main stage being like broad strokes, and then the breakout sessions that we have throughout the weekend are more like drilling in to more specialized topics. But really, you know, all of us, Bianca, Libby, Steph, Tyrants, and then our extended network, you know, we know a lot of people throughout the country. And I think it's a matter of just looking at what you already have, using the resources you already have, leveraging those relationships, and then, you know, bringing people in to kind of merge the outside talent with the local talent.
Yeah, it's pretty much, there's no like structured strategy on how I pick artists. When I created World Culture Music Festival, I was working at a telemarketing company called TCIM, and I was drawing this festival out in training class, and meeting people in the training class that rapped, I was like, hey, you want to be on this festival? Like, so half the artists on the first year were rappers that was in TCIM. And then that night, as I'm cleaning up, anybody that was helping me clean up they was like, I rap too. And I was like, man, thanks for helping me clean up. You want to be on there next year? And so like, that hasn't changed. I just meet people just out in life, and if they tell me they rap and I see them, I like them. If my friends like them, that do things, we put them on the biggest platform that we can. It hasn't really, it's not like a ranking or nothing like that. So that's dangerous to do. So I just keep it organic as possible. I don't know if Marius wants me telling everybody. He just was like, man, I know Rhapsody. You want to call? I was like, yeah, but let's bring, you know, it was, everything is very organic. It's not a hard process when you do it like that.
We booked Father because he was like tweeting.
He tweeted Tulsa.
Randomly. He was like making an example of like, yeah, if you want to make it, you got to be willing to just play Tulsa or whatever. Like, he was just kind of like using it as a throwaway. I replied to the tweet and I was like,
you trying to come to Tulsa tonight? So
and Father's playing Tulsa tonight. So it's like literally like, what's in front of you? What?
It's like that for real. Yeah. So it's dope.
I think that that's the beauty of what's happening in this city, is that it's not some external production company coming in and saying like, we want to host a pop-up South by Southwest and we're going to fly into Tulsa and make something happen. It is ground level. It's been happening for years. And I think that I won't say that we have turned the corner, but like, it feels like we're on the precipice of things to come.
We have time for one more. Miles?
How does it feel to be doing the second year of Spark Summit? What do you have your eyes open to this year that wasn't, maybe your president idea last year? And personally, what are you looking most forward to as the weekend starts?
I'll start with it. Thank you, Miles, our esteemed board member, Miles Dawson, not a plant in the crowd. I think the most obvious change is the addition of Dreamland Festival and having a full-scale music festival happening outside. I think the visual art is something that I would also call out. Our colleague Rebecca Kimball McElwain has curated an incredible slate of visual art, from No Parking Studios to Black Moon to Art House. Codone will be here. So I think that we're really excited. TCE has focused a lot on music up to this point and just like general building the ecosystem around artists, but excited to add in visual arts and to begin to invest in those artists as well. So I think that the biggest change is just like more different types of creativity being celebrated within the summit.
Yes, and the back of your name tag has a map where you can find all of the different exhibits. So encourage you to not only be here listening to panelists, but to be out in the different exhibitions. I think the other specific thing I'm excited about, selfishly, is we opened our new building 3 weeks ago. And when we committed to hosting year 2, thank you, we thought we would be open 3 months ago. So this is the first thing that we have done in the building. And it's exciting for us to expand the footprint. And what it's allowing for Spark is not just this main stage where people are talking at you, but we'll have breakouts, we'll have round tables, some of the sessions in the assembly room. Every table you'll sit at is a whiteboard. So we encourage you to sit, to brainstorm, to dream alongside the panel that you're listening to. And that ability to be really inclusive of the audience is something that I'm thrilled to be able to do this year.
Yeah, I think I'm really an operations gal at the organization. And I think this scaling the conference from last year has been the most exciting thing. And we're already, we were in the midst of planning this one and already thinking about, okay, how do we make it bigger for next year? So it's always like kind of keeping the eye on how do we continue to make this grow? Also, maybe somewhat a selfish plug. One of the breakouts that's happening is actually one that I'll be moderating on creativity and mental wellness and mental health. And I think that is actually a conversation that's not really had enough in any of the spaces that we're talking about. So if you guys are around at 4 p.m., please come and check out that breakout session.
I'm good. I got a lot to do.
Yes, and so on that note, that actually wraps up our panel. If you stick around in the next 10, 15 minutes, we're going to reset the stage and bring on the next panel and curate our next moderators in the audience, and she'll be introducing everyone. And thank you again. You can scan the QR codes on your lanyards for a full schedule and also information on all the speakers.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, everyone.